we do begin for a second day in a row with some breaking COVID vaccine news. Just this morning, Johnson & Johnson released some new data about a new booster shot for people who received their single-dose vaccine.
Johnson & Johnson says in its trials, a second dose given 2 months later proved to be 94% effective at preventing moderate to severe COVID symptoms. About 15 million Americans received that J&J vaccine.
So here to help us understand what this could mean, former CDC director, now president and chief executive of Resolve to Save Lives, Dr. Tom Frieden, joining us exclusively. Dr. Frieden, good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, so we'd like to start with the Johnson & Johnson news today. Friday, you tweeted that we need to consider an mRNA dose for those who initially received that vaccine. So do you think that's still the case, or just would they need another booster dose of Johnson & Johnson based off this new data?
It's a great question, and it really illustrates how quickly scientific knowledge is changing, even now, more than 18 months into the pandemic. The data that was released this morning is really encouraging. It shows two things. First, that the Johnson & Johnson vaccine holds up its protection, which is very good protection for at least 6 months, even against Delta. And second, that if you get a second dose, you're going to likely be even better protected. And so the two doses of J&J is probably the way to go if you got J&J before, but we'll have to wait to see what the FDA and CDC advisory committees say. Interestingly, that second dose seemed to be much more effective 6 months after the first dose than 2 months after. And we're seeing that with some of the vaccines, that the longer the interval or the delay between the two vaccine doses, the stronger the reaction becomes.
Dr. Frieden, you have an op-ed in the New York Times this morning, and you're talking about this unified approach to vaccine verification. I mean, in some states, we have a digital version of the vaccination card, or else we just have it, you know, this flimsy card in our wallets. But why do you think we need some sort of unified approach?
Big picture, we're going to be living with COVID for a long time, and vaccination mandates are going to spread. They're going to become more common. Now, if you're mandating vaccine, you have to figure out a way to see if someone's been vaccinated. Right now, the paper cards are frankly too easy to falsify, too easy to lose, too hard to check accurately in real time. It's possible to have a system that's fair, secure, accurate, opt-out. So if you don't want it, you don't have to be on it, but is acceptable to international travel, acceptable to businesses, efficient. But standards are needed for that. Otherwise, it's kind of like the Wild West out there. Different states, different businesses, different companies, different countries have their own systems. They may be inaccurate. They may release your data without your knowledge, and they may not be efficient. So fundamentally, it's important that the federal government issue standards for guidelines for anyone who wants to create a vaccine verification system, like the New York State Excelsior Pass that says it has to be secure, accurate, fair.
Dr. Frieden, let's play devil's advocate for a second here. As you know, a lot of folks rightfully concerned about personal information, personal health information specifically. How could such a wide-scale approach protect privacy while being accurate and practical?
Actually, it increases the security. What's happening now is not safe. What's happening now is different organizations, different companies, different states have systems. Some are more secure, some are less secure. What I'm recommending is that the federal government say, if you do this kind of a system, you have to jump this high. You have to make sure that people can't breach it. You have to make sure that it's only used for COVID data. You have to make sure that people opt out. So if they don't want to be in it, they don't have to be in it. You have to make sure that your data isn't sold. These are standards that the federal government can set without creating its own system. It can set standards to say companies, states need to do this so that people can have confidence that their information is not going to be sold, not going to be abused, not going to be shared without their consent.
Dr. Frieden, look, there's been a lot of criticism over this mixed messaging about the booster shots, when they be available, do we need them? It seems like policy is getting ahead of the science, and that adds to the confusion and perhaps hesitancy.
One of the realities is that we're learning more every day, and the more we learn, the better we can protect people. With vaccines, it's clear that they're extremely effective and extremely safe. Vaccines have already saved over 100,000 lives in this country. And the biggest problem we have right now isn't whether and when and to whom to give boosters, but that we still have 80 million people who haven't gotten a first COVID shot. We need to reach the unvaccinated by reaching out to different communities, making very clear that these vaccines are our way to survive this pandemic, to thrive despite the pandemic, to get much of our former lives back despite the continued spread of COVID. So get vaccinated.
All right, Dr. Tom Frieden, thank you so much. Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Find your favorite recipes, celebrity interviews, uplifting stories, shop our favorite deals, and so much more with the Today app. Download it now.